welcome Greg McCoy to, I almost called this the Hidden Gym podcast. Wow, we're already doing great. This is the Refined Strength podcast. Greg McCoy is the owner of Hidden Gym, which is a gym chain down here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. How are you doing?
I'm good, Rachel. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on. I had your wife on several months ago. I don't know when that was.
Yeah, time's flying.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy. We're already in January, almost at the end of January. And I saw a few weeks ago and I was excited to have you on because you just got through your 15th year as a gym owner as of January 3rd.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that I can even say that. But yeah, that's a milestone. And I messed that post up, I think, because I had so many people interpret that as I was retiring.
Isn't
Um,
that funny how people interpret social media?
yeah.
It's
My
crazy.
caption was far too long. I gave them too much credit that they were going to get to the bottom where I was like, I'm more excited than ever. They didn't make it to that part. They were just like, I walked in the gym and they're like, bro, you're selling the gym? I'm like, what?
Where
No.
did you read that? Yeah, that's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just don't read. It's one of the weird lessons that you learn as you go into business is just nothing gets read.
Yeah.
So,
I'm guilty
well,
as charged though, because I'll like Tana's post or whatever. And she's like, did you read the caption? I'm like, no.
no. She wrote like a really heartfelt thing or like
Yeah.
really meaningful turning point thing in her life and you just don't
I
even
gave her
know
some
about it.
fire flames and kept moving.
Yeah, like, oh, she looks great. Liking that one. That's funny. So I really wanted you on the podcast to talk about really that, like your career as a gym owner. Not many people really make it that far in gym ownership. I used to work in gym management myself, and I was a personal trainer first. And I totally thought when I was a personal trainer, maybe one day I'll own a gym. And I think that's something that a lot of people go into the gym business with as like a dream or a hope, whether they're a trainer or a salesperson or front desk. And then they get met with the difficulty that is owning and running a gym and actually making it thrive past like a couple years. So talk about your starting point and just like how you managed to get so far in that long of a time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, it's certainly a popular dream. People that love to train, and of course, you have an opinion about where you're at, and if this was mine, this is how I would do it. So it's a popular dream, and yeah, like you said, unfortunately, the majority don't go well because you have to really love the business as much, if not more, than the content of the business, which is kind of your classic E-Myth story, which is that timeless business book. It's going to take more than just being liking the product that you have. But yeah, I got started, and this is how I've encouraged a lot of people over the years to start. Like I started quite small. I had a 5,000 square foot completely unconditioned warehouse space. You're familiar with it. It was Metroflix Plano.
In the same place that it's in now, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that address has changed hands a few times, but
Yeah.
I was 22, and I had a lot of things go right. You can call it luck. I prefer to think it was kind of God's plan for me. It's what I wanted to do since I was in high school. So I spent a lot of time planning for this. But my plan was like, okay, well, I'll do a personal training studio when I get out of college, something like on a small scale. So that was kind of where my head was at coming out of school. But I had started competing, as young as 19, and so I grew up in Arlington, so I was training at the Metroflex there, the original, and at that time the only one. And I was telling the owner, Brian, that I wanted to do the training studio. He was interested in expanding at that time. And so he kind of talked me into, giving it a shot. And then, you know, uh, quite a few things fell in line, like in hindsight. I kind of took it for granted, at 22, because you just think that's how things go.
Yeah.
A lot of things fell in line. And I was able to open that, yeah, in January of 2009. But it, I I enjoy working, and especially working on my dream. So I wasn't complaining, but I was my only employee for the first 10 months. So open to close, it's so funny looking back on it. Like the gym was open on Sundays 8 to 8. And so when I would get off on Sunday night at 8 p.m. versus midnight all the other nights, I was like, all right, it's the weekend. Like I would like for like 4 hours, I would feel like it's the weekend.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I started small and just built it over time, and you have to be, very prudent about that. And then also you have to make some pretty bold decisions along the way, to go from Metroflex to destination. That was, really a kind of a 3-year evolution. I had early success with Metroflex, and my dad's an entrepreneur himself. And so, we were looking at things, and he was like, we're looking at what I'm paying in rent. And, at that time, the economy was pretty bad. And he's like, man, you could be paying, you could own a large building for what you're paying in rent. And
Yeah.
so, he helped me do that. And that's when the destination project was, born. So that was like a key turning point, because that was a big, bold decision that really took it from, small hardcore gym to, something quite sizable. And I won't go, that's a long history story. We can get into it if you want, but that was another 5 years of that. And then definitely learned some lessons on exiting and partners. And, probably the hardest lessons of my whole career came in that time frame. And then I didn't know if I wanted to do it anymore, to be honest. Like 2018, I had no plans to open another gym, but I promised myself like a 1 year break. I was like, I don't want to lease. I don't want payroll. Like, I need a break. It had been 10 years at that point. And so, yeah, I took that 1 year break. And then, I had an opportunity to acquire the Den, which was a rugby center here in Allen. And that became Hidden Gym.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool like directions you can go into that story. I think my question would be, what do you think was the real fuel behind that big bold decision of moving away from Metroflex and into Destination Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, I never wanted to play small. It was never attractive to me. Like, that was never like a 5,000 square foot like hardcore gym was never like what I envisioned as the end goal. So like I was opportunistic, and when there was a chance to make a change, I was ready for that. And also too, you learn some lessons on the concept, like, kind of what I thought, was going to work in one way. I wanted to improve upon it, right? And it kind of like, even my original plan is still a lot of what drives me today, because just as a avid gym goer in my younger years, I worked out at a very good Gold's Gym. Like, many of us have had those like independently owned Gold's Gyms,
Mm-hmm.
over the years. And then, because it was right by my house, and like that's where my dad went, so he would drive me there when I couldn't drive and all that. And then I saved up my money for my first job, and I hired Quincy Taylor, who's a pro bodybuilder. And I was like,
Yeah.
I want to be a bodybuilder. And he was like, well, we need to go train legs at Metroflex. And I'm like, what is that? And then I was like there, and like Ronnie's there and all that. And I would go there some, but I was just like, I was like, somebody needs to mash this together. Like, this atmosphere is insane, but like everything is broken. And
You need your
like,
tetanus shot. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, I don't, there's a lot of drawbacks, and none of my friends would go. They were all completely scared. So I was like, there's like some elements of this that are so cool, but like I really enjoy Golds. So that was kind of always the vision, to bring that together. And then the first Metroflex, I was very like tried and true to the brand. It was hardcore, it was quite a bit cleaner than the first one, but it was still pretty like
On
rough.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I decided to leave the Metroflex brand and kind of do something new, it was really like with that vision in mind. And then it's like, it's crazy how things have evolved now, because like that hardcore is, it's not really as sought after as it used to be.
Yeah.
I know like in the Ronnie and Jay days when I was growing up and all this, like Ronnie was hardcore and Jay was like, that place is a dump. How do you work out there? Like golds. And, it's evolved a lot, and people are a lot more in tune with equipment selections. And, it's
Atmosphere,
that kind of
setting.
blend has happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the destination to your break, and then like the birth of Hidden Gym, what do you feel like, if you don't mind me asking, what was it that about the destination era that was like, it's just not right? It's not what I envisioned.
Nothing about the gym. I was having a fantastic time, and if in hindsight I got, I would have stopped kind of my endeavor into this global company that I ended up a part of. I would have stopped it short and it may have lived on forever. I'm not sure. But, I ended up in a position where I was working very little on the gym, and yeah, there was just I basically joined into a bigger machine and thought that like that was what I needed to do, and I just felt like I just was drifting further and further away from what made me happy.
Mhm.
I didn't agree with a lot of decisions that were being made, and I'm like, I didn't sign up for this to like be along for the ride or feel like I, have stock options versus like my thing, right? Like autonomy is big for me. That was going away. I was thrilled at what we had accomplished, and it was a really hard decision to move on because that was like 10 years of my life. And anybody that started a business knows, like, no matter what anyone tells you, like, it is extremely personal. And like I went back to the Gold's Gym I grew up at, and like I had bought some of those machines. Like there's machines, I don't know if they still have them, but at that time there was machines that I was working out on since I was 14, like they're in
That's
there.
crazy.
And so it means so much to you. To walk away was like a huge decision. And it was spiritually driven also. Like I felt out of alignment. I had kind of drifted in my faith, and as I kind of got back on, I felt like I had a lot of encouragement that it was time for that chapter to close. And I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew that where I wasn't right. And so I was like, no matter what the cost, like I know that this isn't it, so I'm out of here.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of faith, not only in like where your faith actually lies, like in God and God's plan, but you have to have equal amount of faith, in my opinion, like in yourself and in your ability to just like figure it out. Like right now, this is not what makes me happy. It's not my mission, but I know I'll find out what that is. How do you think you found out what that was when you got given the opportunity for Hidden? Was it just the fact that it was an opportunity being given or shown, or what?
I think because it was right around 11 months into my break or whatever, and I think like the fact that when I first heard about it, like the owners called me to tell me what was going on and to see if I was interested, the level of excitement and like fire, because it was a weird time. Like I had
What did
such
you do
a,
during that time, by the way?
you
Like
know,
during the break?
I should have relaxed was what I should have done. But I was so anxious and like, what am I going to do? And I did, we did travel a little bit, which was awesome. And that was definitely like a good recharge. But I just did personal training. And then I started a little company where we were like, at that time, I was running Tana's online training program.
That's right.
And so
Yeah.
we signed on a few other pros where we were like running their online training for them, and that was cool, but that wasn't it either. So yeah, when the gym thing came up, and I was just like, oh, actually, and this is a really good story, especially for the listeners that are faith based. I It was random, but completely not random. So Tana has a photo shoot for Caged at this gym across from the Galleria, which is the mall with the ice skating rink. For those of you that aren't in Dallas.
What gym was that, or is it still there?
I don't think that the gym is still a part of it. It's called Madoma. They do medical massage, but their
Okay.
location by the Galleria had a gym. And she was like, you have to come with me to my shoot. Like, this gym is so cool. You need to see it. And I'm like, okay. So I pop over there, and I could tell, like, all right, whoever made this gym, like, clearly knows what they're doing. Like, there was all kinds of clues, right? Like, eccentric hooks and, like, banded stuff. Like, all right, somebody that knows how to train, like, built this place. And so I start asking around, and then I meet the manager, actually, whose name was Chad. He was running a PT school there. But, Chad at this point in my life has kind of been a spiritual mentor since this day. But I walk into his office and I'm telling him just like super cliff notes. I don't know him at all. So I'm telling him like a little bit of things like, yeah, I had a gym and sold it. I don't really know what I'm doing now. And he started just like speaking to me like, I truly think it was God speaking through him, because he was like, well, Greg, I can tell you this. I'm like just listening to you and being around you, I can tell you that God put that dream in your heart for a reason. Don't expect it to go away. And you have a community of people that believe in you. So you need to get them together. And even if you don't know where it's headed, get them together and you'll know the time when that'll pay off. And so I was like, honestly in tears. And I start arranging like field trips. So people from the Metroplex days and destination days, we start taking trips to like Fox Fitness and all these other gyms. We started having some barbecues. And yeah, lo and behold, a couple months later, like this gym opportunity came to be. And, so many of that community that we had built over the years, just really embraced Hidden Gem out of the gate. So it was a really cool experience through all that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like that, those types of moments, like you have to really see them for what they could give you. Like you could just have written him off and been like, bring my community together. How am I going to do that? But really taking it and figuring it out and just finding out, fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Now look at you. You have 3 locations and you're like known as a big pillar in the fitness community here in DFW. Like that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't believed in that community aspect of yourself.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
So you're in business with your wife,
Yep.
Anna, and
Yeah.
so you guys own Hidden together. How has that been challenging, and also how has it been really cool over the years?
Yeah. I mean, it's both, probably in equal doses, but, we've, over the years, it changes, right? Like she didn't grow up like planning out, oh, I want to be a gym owner, right? Like she kind of like, I started coaching her back in the day and, she's been extremely supportive of my dream. And I think she would still agree to this day. Like, this is Greg's dream and she's been helpful in that. And then she's found her footing in different ways. Clearly, like she's had an amazing career as an athlete and as a spokesperson in the industry. So that doesn't hurt. She gets a lot of eyeballs and attention on the gym, and she kind of handles people and relationships in ways that I would never be able to. We get doors opened because of her all the time. And she was really, over the years clung to different things in the business. And what she really likes now and over the years is the branding element. The what you're wearing right now is designed by her, right? As a cover up for at your shows. So the colors and how the gym looks, and then she runs the Instagram account and plans all the photo shoots. Like she's got a real, because she spent a lot of time like in front of the camera, she really can be valuable behind the camera. And so our imagery is really, really good. I'm, really proud of the work that her and Mike Lamb have done together to like speak the brand. And it's the details. It's like, who's going to be in the shoot? What are they wearing? How are we going to shoot them? And to really communicate what Hidden Gem means. And so that's her thing. Sometimes I'll learn, like if I overlap on her thing, there's some friction. So I let her do her thing, while I'm guiding the rest of it. And she hates what I do. Like she's not going to sit in front of a spreadsheet or do finance meetings, or like she's not really into managing employees. That's not her thing either. Like that's, so, we have our areas, but of course it's fun to see, the things that you plan for and pray for come to life together.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys kind of naturally gravitated towards like just the areas that needed help from each of you, instead of making it like a thing that you just decided on from day one. Like, all right, you're doing this, you're doing this.
Yeah, it's certainly been evolution, just like anything. Like when it's my dream, like I love it so much. Like I think about it nonstop. And I have to realize she does not. And so there's been periods of time where she'll be more involved and then less involved. And it's like, I get that, like probably not, to do this for 15 years straight, you have to love it because it is not easy, like by a long shot. So yeah, that love has to be there or you wouldn't do it. And so she has those periods of time where it's like, gosh, I'm glad you love it because this is hard.
Yeah. Well, and I think as an entrepreneur in general, like, but also as someone who's an athlete, like she's done so many different things. It's like, it seems from the outside at least that she's found a really good balance of like having a lot of fun in her life, of like doing the things that really like make her happy and set her soul on fire, but then also implementing that into the business that supports your dream and what you have fun with. and there's just like a really nice like cohesiveness with that.
Yeah, she's a creative, so what gives her energy is different than what gives me energy.
Yeah.
But I think she's found, just like you said, she finds ways to get those creative ventures. Like there's creative opportunity within what we do. So
Right.
she has that outlet. And also, like, I'm naturally a lot more introverted, and not as in like I'm shy, or I don't like, because I MC shows and I like being in front of people, but like I draw energy from being by myself. She's the opposite. So this has been great, like a community for her to get to know people. And like, if I need my time to reserve my energy, her
She's like
time is spent.
there.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, totally. What do you think people get wrong in terms of who they go into business with? You've been with a lot of different partners in your career as a gym owner. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, partnerships are hard. I've had a lot of conversations with friends because I would say, just like a lot of the gyms that start don't work out, a lot of the partnerships that start don't work out. I think that, kind of at this point, if I was to talk to younger Greg, you have to be extremely, extremely careful in entering into that relationship, because it's no short of the seriousness of a marriage. I mean, you like you can't go into it casual, because if you don't have this stuff figured out, like, it will blow up at some point. So I think, like, just not entering into relationships casually would be my first advice, and having a clear understanding of kind of who's going to do what. And I think too, I didn't recognize what all that I had. And so I was quick to sell it cheap, where it's like, gosh, in hindsight, I don't know why I wasn't so, like, a little more confident or even arrogant about what I had built, because I gave it away so quick for so little. It's like, so, and if you're young and you don't know better, and there's opportunistic people that are willing to, have no problem like acquiring that,
Yeah.
you know I mean, I can't be mad. It's like they did it to it was a great deal. So of course they're out looking for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I would just say, like, never, never, never not have somebody that represents your interest alone. I was often in these scenarios where kind of my partner's interests were represented, and I'm just a young guy, like,
You're just
well,
by
that sounds
yourself.
good to me. And nobody's
Yeah.
like explaining to me, like, Greg, do you understand what that means and what that would mean long term? And like, I didn't have any counsel like that. I was very, very trusting.
Do you have that now in your current business, or do you not need it as much because it's yours?
No, 100%. And that's like, I would probably say, like, Greg now, and this is for mentoring young guys, because obviously we have like trainers and front desk guys. Like, I end up in the position to mentor a lot of young men, and we all think we know it all, man. Like, you can't tell us shit, and we're all the same. And I was the same. Like, I was like, I thought I knew so much when I knew so little. And like, now, when I know million times more than I did when I started, I have more people helping me. I have a massive resource list when it's like different situations, when I need different people's expertise, and that's absolutely essential. And that network will make or break you for sure.
Yeah. I heard a quote the other day it said, it was something like, the student says, I know, when they're being given advice or a lesson or something like that. But the master says, thank you for the reminder. And just like, it's always accepting of change, accepting of, not knowing as much as you think you know. Even if you know it, hearing it from someone else, like, the reminder is obviously there for a reason.
Yeah, it's no different than training. It's like, I've been training my whole life. Is my squat perfect? Absolutely not. Like, I will take advice on barbell squatting all day.
Yeah.
And it's like, you think I have the basic exercise figured out by now, but it's like, you never really, you always have to be learning.
Well, and your body changes too. And so, like, that's how, like, for me, I look at how much training changes from in season to off season. Your leverage has changed. So many things change, your energy, all of it. Whereas, like, the same thing happens in business or in just whatever your career is and whatever you're learning. Is like, the industry changes, the market changes, there, like, inflation happens, like, so many different things change how you have to respond in order to keep going and keep getting ahead.
Yeah, and it changes fast. Like, the changes are massive. I mean, the gym industry in Dallas has evolved, you know,
Yeah,
five
that's
times, done a 180, you know, in the last, 10 years. So yeah, it happens quick. And when you think you got it figured out, you got to start over. And, so you're always figuring it out.
yeah, that was going to be one of my questions is about the gym industry, especially as it keeps growing in not just the world, but like especially in Dallas, because that's where you're at. I mean, even just since I've moved here in Texas to Texas in 2021, there's been so many more new developments. You've opened another hidden gym. You're the one of I joined Allen Hidden Gym, I think in 2022, and went there for about a year. And since then, you have Richardson now. I don't know if you guys have another one coming up. Who knows? But like, there's also been so many other little like things popping up or big gyms popping up too, like AR. I know, we go to Recess that opened around the same time you
Hmm.
guys did. So talk about just how that feels to know that it's like that competitive and that saturated.
Yeah, it is. I used to think it was competitive. It's a whole nother level of competitive now. And I don't think it's going to get less. I mean, Dallas is an attractive market. And so, you've seen like legacy brands just completely lose here. I mean,
Mhm.
24 Hour Fitness has gotten its ass kicked here. LA Fitness has gotten its ass kicked here.
Texas Family Fitness,
Texas
yeah,
Family Fitness, which was
they're
like
done.
a mainstay, they're out, and a million smaller operations, right? Like a lot of the
Mhm.
Anytimes, a lot of the titles, a lot of these franchise concepts have a short lifespan. But yeah, it's and then you have like HVLP, which in the gym industry is high value, low price. So these are these gyms that are have a million amenities and it's $10 a month. Like that's those concepts. There's big national brands and they're plopping them in Dallas all over the place.
Yeah.
There's kind of this like Bermuda Triangle in Plano right now that I'm kind of just sitting back to watch the carnage because there's like an EOS went in, like you could throw a baseball and hit the crunch, like not even 2 blocks down is a Planet, and then like one exit down is Amped, and they're all like, I know, like just from me knowing the business and trying to like, all right, let's see what would this take to work. I think they all need 8,000 members, and I'm like, I don't think like
Insane.
someone's not going to survive, and probably at least two of you won't survive. So we'll
Yeah.
see. This is going to be a bloodbath for sure. They're already selling memberships for like sign up for 1 cent or whatever. So it's like
Yeah.
at this point they're gonna start paying people to come.
Yeah, it's wild. How do you remain just like calm and like confident that you're surviving?
Yeah, I think luckily we're not in like definitely the kind of personal gym experience is still very competitive, but like I don't, that the type of consumer that goes to those gyms, it's not necessarily our person. They may evolve to our person, but those concepts I don't worry that much about because we're so much different. If you really love training, you're going to want to be in a place where you're around people that like to train, and a lot of the riffraff that's will pay $9 for a membership that won't pay $60 for a membership, right? I mean, you'll pay a premium to have that and have premium stuff. So I'm confident in that, but it's if each concept takes kind of if that's 100 customers that you would have had, like it adds up. So it's hard. And then on the personal gyms, like on the more private gym side, you know what I used to get away with at Metroflex, it's like I had basically no. We were the only like cool gym really in from Arlington to here. It's
Hmm.
like play cool music, allow chalk, and we were just having competitors flock to us when the pros were in town. They would come over. Like it was really the only place to go, and it really built such a cool community. And then nowadays, it's like, I mean, yeah, take Absolute Recon for instance. I mean, I don't think they're spending less than $7 million to open a gym, and it's like, it's the game is elevated, and you see concepts across the U.S. I know, like
Hmm.
Carbon in Tennessee, I'm close with Brent and everything that he's doing, and those facilities are beautiful. Iron Revolution, like there's all these Power Build, there's all these super cool privately owned places where the game just keeps like elevating. So it's interesting, and none of those like because I go to all the trade shows, right, and
Hmm.
like that that corporate part of the industry doesn't really understand what's happening and what's growing, and they're going to have to deal with
Time.
us pretty soon because we're taking a lot of their members. So yeah, it's kind of fun to watch it all, how it's all unfolding.
I like that. Just like the general energy of the answer to that question was the fact that you're having fun with it and you don't look at it as like this big, bad, scary thing that you could be like, you could very well be super anxious about that, right? It could be a really big stressor, but you don't choose to make it that way. You choose to look at it as like what it is. You have different ideal clients, you have a different value system, and like you're confident in your product. And I think that's like one of those things that people just, it's so simple. It almost seems like it couldn't possibly be that simple, but it really is. You just have to be really driven towards like putting out your living through your values and really putting out like the best thing that you possibly can that you know how to do, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it sometimes it is like, it's, the easy things you just almost take for granted. I mean, like with the Richardson gym, for instance, this is a kind of a story to encapsulate that exact comment. I installed a monolift and a competition bench, kind of that, like a lot of the stuff that our powerlifting crowd has always wanted. We've generally had geared powerlifters, we've had geared meets, and that community has been good. Well, we put that in there. I hadn't seen, we're 6 months into this. I hadn't seen a squat suit yet, but I got these, raw lifters coming in, and finally I kind of was like observing, and I looked up his phone number in the system, one of the guys, and I called him, and I was just like, hey man, what do you think about the gym? And he's like, oh, it's all right. And it's like, okay, well, tell me what you want. Like, and, I just got schooled in, combo racks and kilo plates and like, and they really are into this stuff, which is great because when I find that, what I hear is, okay, here's a bunch of stuff that no corporate gym would ever buy or see value in. And if I do that and listen to what these people want, like most of them are buying it and putting it in their garage. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's their only option. So it's like, if I will cater to that, they'll pass 10 gyms to get here.
Yeah.
And so you
True.
just, you have to keep your pulse on the community and what people want, and just listen to your customer, which is like, like I said, it sounds so easy, but you can get lost and like you can make it hard.
Well, I think especially people who have that dream of owning a gym, they have a dream of owning a gym that looks a really specific way, and that might work for a lot of people who are like you and who like things you like, but like
Yeah.
you're not a power lifter,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
would never think about any of those things that he just schooled you on, but
Hmm.
you're listening to him because like you said, they will like true athletes will, or people that like to consider themselves as such, like they will drive and pass more gyms to get to yours if they have it available. And like a lot of people in business, I think, are just so they get lost in the ego of themselves and realizing that it's not about them and what they like and what they care about and how they like training. It's about how the customer likes it.
100%. Yeah, that's perfectly said.
So, how, if you could do anything differently from the last 15 years, what would it be? And would you actually do it differently if you had the chance?
I'll answer the second part first. No, I wouldn't. Like, I love the way that things have turned out and the hardships that I've been through. I think there's still a chunk of me that's angry over the destination stuff, that I'm still trying to get past those demons, right? But in all, like I can honestly say I'm happy that I learned the lessons at the time that I did. I'm happy the trajectory that I ended up on. So I can't be upset about the path it took to get there, right? That being said, if I take Greg back to 2018, would he have sold that building? Because I owned the building, right? And
Hmm.
when I left the gym, they were then my tenant. And at that point, I was just like, man, fuck this. I'm getting rid of everything. And so we found a buyer who he's still there. They have a badass judo school if anyone ever checks it out. So they bought it. And I felt good about like, because I had some buyers that were like, oh, yeah, we have a copy machine company and this is a perfect warehouse for us. And I'm like, God, like I, spent 2 years making this super cool building, like
You
every
wanted to allow it
detail.
to continue being a gym.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it would just make my heart sad to like have it full of copy machines. So
Yeah.
anyways, this judo guy buys it. But in hindsight, like if I knew, right, if I was going to get back in the gym business, clearly I could have just when their lease was over, just told them to fuck off and had my building and re-put my gym in it. Because now I'm paying like so much money in rent. Like my payment to own that building is like a third of what I pay in rent now. So it's like, it makes me sick to think like I could still own that super badass space that I put all that time into. And it would have been financially so much easier to make the operation work. So in hindsight, would I have kept that building and put a gym inside of it? 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So now as you like you have 3 locations of Hidden, it's obviously like would you say Hidden has been your most successful endeavor
Yeah,
since
by far.
starting?
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, because like Metroflex, I was an infant in the business. You
Yeah.
know, we had success because, you know, I was a big part of the community. We developed that community, and we were kind of like we were doing a lot of things right that we didn't really understand. And then when Destination happened, like the first couple years, I was very focused on the gym, and then like I got involved in the apparel business, and I'm like flying to Sweden once a month and all this stuff, and like I didn't really like the gym was basically like a place to host photo shoots, and like we didn't
You
really
didn't quite
manage it.
realize that going in.
I wasn't like in the like depths of the gym business for like 3 years there. Like yeah, I had the gym and I cared about it, but like what I do now, it was like I'm a night and day 10 times better operator than I was in those days. So, you know, now that it's like the gym business is my focus, like yeah, Hidden Gym has started to grow, and you know, that's mainly been because of that.
Yeah. How would you foresee like the next like 5 years of that? Do you want to open more? What are your like goals and dreams for that?
Yeah. We want to keep expanding. You know, I'd like to get to 6 in Dallas. Is the goal. So, and at that point, I don't know. You know, I kind of more like look at it from an age thing. Like, I think for me, so I'm 38 now. At 45, will I still be the guy that's like training hard and like a part of the community, or will I just kind of be the dude that like owns it? And I don't know, you know, but I
Yeah,
kind of
there's like
like,
a shift that might have to happen in terms of like the face of the business or how you run it. Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it's kind of like, all right, at 45, maybe I want to exit. And so I'll kind of work backwards from there. Or maybe I don't, you know, but that's the biggest kind of definitive milestone I have is like maybe at 45 I want to do something different, or it's just something less risky because like
Mhm.
you know there's a lot of risk every time we add a location. Like you know it's you know it kind of takes you back to those early days of like, man, I just put all my chips back in the center, like here we go.
Yeah, hope it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting when we make plans like that, like, oh, in 5 years I want to be here, in 10 years I want to be here. Because especially now, like I'm 32, and anytime I've actually said that in my life of like, I want to be here by this time, it totally does not go that way, you know?
Yeah.
Like I never thought that I would be in Texas like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Like I moved here in 2021, so almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I never thought that. I never
Yeah.
knew I would own my own
We
business.
met from Matt, right? After one of those N1 seminars. Didn't Matt introduce us?
No, but he did introduce me to your gym.
Okay.
Yeah, like one time we caught a workout there together. And that was when I think at the time I was going to a club 4 because it was just like really convenient for me. And it was just like at the time in my life, I needed convenience and like really quick drives to the gym. And then I realized like, oh wow, this is a really cool community. I think this is what I need now. Like it was just a really easy join, and now I live like way too far away from
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
location or I would totally go. But yeah, it's crazy just how much can change just by continuing to take the next step and the next step and just being open to what that might entail and
Yeah, and you're
how
so
things can
right.
change.
Like you can't force it. Like, and you know when you're forcing it because it's like it's really not going good, but you're like just so stubborn to make it work. That's never a good position to be in. So like, of course, like I'm a big planner and forecaster, and like I like to do all that, but at the same time, I'm willing to like you know kind of let the water flow where it's going to go, right? And you know when you have to be a bit opportunistic, but also like yeah, it's a fine balance of like knowing where you want to go, but you know, being having some flexibility on how you get there.
Yeah. What would be your best advice to give to someone who's like wanting to enter the gym business in a saturated area?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a hard one to narrow it down. I mean,
Don't do it.
yeah, I mean, I kind of start the conversation that way, like, hey, here's all the ways that can go wrong, but there are ways to be successful. So I don't want to discourage anybody, especially if that's your dream. I think you really need to have a gut check with yourself to see if you're the type of person that can pull that off. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't be afraid of long hours and not having reward. Delayed gratification is like, a big part of it, right? So some people are much better, and if you're not if you have a hard time like creating something out of nothing, like it can be easy, like when you go through school, or when you have a job and like, people are telling you what to do or what time to be there, or like, hey, this was good, this was bad. When you have like zero direction, nobody's giving you feedback. It's 100% up to you. That's like a lot of people don't thrive in that. And even in our company, like if we ask people like, hey, like this is a kind of an entrepreneur place. Like, if you're not the type of person that can kind of observe what's going on and make value, then I don't think it's going to work. Like, I'm not going to tell you like what to think about or where to be. This is not a micromanaging type of place. So yeah, you have to know if you're that type of person, like, because sometimes you're better off having a job. You're going to be happier and you're going to do better.
Yeah, I think a lot of people see the freedom that comes with working for yourself or having your own business of any kind, and they really don't realize what that freedom is. It's not actual freedom like,
It
oh, I can
costs
do
a
whatever I
lot.
want with my day.
Yeah.
Like I can do whatever I want whenever. Like no, it's you're creating the I guess the vehicle for you to like create your own schedule and create like you do that by going into business that maybe has a schedule that you like, right? Or that you're okay with because you love what you're doing. And I think the people that fail and stuff like that are people that just do not, like you said, don't possess that ability to fuel themselves, but they also just look at it as something that is wildly different from what it is. They have really unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would tell them, better love the business. Like I kind of said in the beginning, like you better love the business as much as you love the content, because once you get to a certain size, like, if some people are completely happy to be kind of that owner operator, maybe they're on the floor or working the desk, and, you can do that. But like if you want to like have a large business, it's no different than any other business. I mean, there's forecasting and budgeting and taxes and payroll and all this illegal stuff that you have to learn, and not only learn but be good at.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the more you elevate, the less you're spending on the actual content of your business. Like I have to really be disciplined to like learn about fitness still, because like it is still what I enjoy the most. But like I spend a next more time like learning about leadership and finances and like real estate, and it's I don't spend a lot of time learning about fitness anymore. And you have to be like, you're gonna have to get to that. Like if the business gets to a certain size, you have to have that skill set, or you won't make it.
Yeah. With that, prepped for a show in 2022, right?
Yeah, that
Or
was the last
23.
one.
That was the last one. So how was that as a business owner? You were about to open Richardson as well, or maybe you were already in the process by that point. What made you decide to like, I'm going to start a bodybuilding prep and get stage lean and do all of that while also doing this?
Well, I had competed, I've competed so many times as a
Right.
gym owner. Pretty used to that, how that goes. And honestly, like that 2022 was a great prep. It was hard, but like I get pretty dialed in, and I actually think I work better up until about 4 weeks out.
Yeah.
And then like, patience is none, energy is low, right? And I don't think I'm not, I'm a B plus operator at best for 4 weeks out on. But and then in 2023, I had a fantastic off season. I was super excited. I got halfway through a prep and we had some issues at our home. That's a long story I won't get into, but like something had to give, and it was like the house and everything we were dealing with like wasn't an option. Like I had to deal with that. The business is growing, we're looking at expanding, so like I just had to pull the plug on the prep, and I just haven't been back in that mode yet.
Yeah. I think that's a really good lesson for a competitor is like, I mean, I try to tell this to people too. I had a few clients who I had to take out of their prep last year. And it's a really hard conversation to have as a coach, but also just as an athlete. Like, I could totally do this. Like, I could push through. I can handle it. But then, like, if you're having to convince yourself that enough times, and you're also watching the other things kind of fall in priority, but like your home, that shouldn't fall into out of priority, right? Ever. Like your relationship, like things like that, they have to stay up there. And if they're suffering greatly, or at least even a little bit from something as honestly silly as a contest prep, right? In the grand scheme of things, like something has to give.
Yeah, and for me, it was like, I've kind of known like probably never going to be a pro bodybuilder. Like that was, I quickly learned like, so Kukla and I started training together in 2008, early 2009. And so to watch somebody like put on the amount of muscle at the pace that they do, I quickly was like, okay, I'm not
Wow.
built like that. Like there's no amount of food or supplements that are going to keep me up with this guy, right? So pretty early on, pretty content with the fact that like I'm just going to be the best that Greg can be,
Hmm.
And I took it as serious as a pro for a lot of years. But like, it for me it was like I had won most of the shows around here, like as a light heavy. I had got some overalls. I usually get my ass kicked at nationals, which I'm fine with. It's like, I go to push myself. But I was like, okay, I'm staring down 8 weeks. This is like hell because of everything I have going on. Like, could I finish? Yes. But this isn't like, I'm way past, like, because I had a lot of my like younger employees that are like, but you should do it. Like, you should do it.
Come on,
And I'm
don't
like,
give up.
this isn't a 5K for me. Like I got the
Yeah.
fucking shirt already. Like I'm not here for the experience. Like if I don't win, I will be mad. So
Yeah.
like this won't be my best. I already know like there's no way I can give it my best. And if I can't give it my best, like I'm not gonna I already know where this will end.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good lesson. It's and also the stage will always be there. So like you can pull out of a prep and if you do it right and if you're healthy and safe about it and all of the things, like you can do just as well if you're probably going to do better the next time you go because you're damn sure going to wait to start until life is managed, you're in a good place to be in prep.
Yeah, and the cool thing about bodybuilding is, there's guys, because I worried about more of my window. Like, I started competing at 19. I've done like 25 shows or something. I'm kind of like, can I keep getting better? And I honestly think that I can. Like, there's guys, in their early 40s that, are fantastic. So,
Mhm.
I still feel like I have, the window isn't closed if I want to pursue that again, and I likely will, but there's still time on the clock.
Yeah, going to see you at Masters Olympia one day. Yeah, I know. Well, thank you so much for all of your wisdom and advice and sharing your story. I love just hearing more stories about other like people in the sport in various pieces of the sport of bodybuilding, and I hope the listeners appreciate it too. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate all that you do. I mean, it's been awesome to be around you and your training, and then obviously I love Austin and when you guys have done the group stuff, like you guys do such a great job with cultivating the community. So it's been really fun to watch you grow.
Yeah, we're doing our best.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you're
thank
doing a
you
great job.
for
Keep it
leading by
up.
example. All right, Greg.